remembered to hit record for like the first time. It only took 3 tries. So, this is the start. Let's see if I can get him in a good spot so you can see him. He was all black, as in right over... oh, wrong side. So, this right here. This one shows you what color he was to start with. Just like the other mini, I'm doing this one for Infamous PBJ, the Peach. It is a Tiefling. He is an Arcane Trickster, which is a rogue archetype in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. And I put a base coat on him. I started him out with gray and a light gray and an orange. I just needed to do 3. I figured I'd pick 3 that were close because he's red skinned. He's got a black vest, black pants. He's got black gloves. I'll hit those when I get in there. I didn't realize it until I went back and looked at some pictures, and the Peach showed me, or at least pointed that out. He just has really short ones. They're like, I don't know, like wrist gloves. So we'll get in on this. I am going to start with the skin. As I've mentioned in the past, it's better to work sort of like inside out. Can everybody hear me all right? Do I have good audio? I want to make sure everything is all set up properly. So, we're going to start. I figure I'll hit it with a bit of the Dragon Red, Army Painter, and we'll start on the skin. I'm also going to try and put the paints in the other corner so I don't put my hand in it like I did last week a whole bunch. Should be a nice dark red, but reds can be real tricky because they can be very, very picky about how they want to go on. I am going to use one of my fine detail brushes. You know what? Let's start on the wings and go with a standard brush instead. And we'll see how this goes in. Thanks. Thanks, Noah. I did it. I actually hit record. So this should be cool. I'll finally be able to post something on YouTube after I finish recording it here. So, starting with the wide space, I'm going to hit the back. Start with the wings. Again, keep it nice and smooth and draw towards yourself more often than not will allow you to prevent a lot of streaking. Avoid brush strokes wherever possible, as in leaving them in your paint. It's easier to add more paint than it is to take it away. This red doesn't seem to be too picky. It's going on pretty well. I'm going to be careful right up in the edge here by his butt, as I don't want to get it on the pants if I can avoid it. But I am going to be going in and painting those black anyway, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal. I'll be hitting that spot later on. Get the tip of his tail. Get the other wing. The foundation paint that I used is some of the old Games Workshop foundation paints. I say old because they were first run foundation paints. I still have some of them left over. And they make an excellent base to get things on nice and smooth and to avoid any sort of chipping. Again, using a standard brush, getting a little bit on the brush itself, about halfway up the bristles, don't go all the way to the metal. Be careful as you get inside in the nooks and crannies, and try not to overlap to other areas of the model if you can avoid it. It's not a big deal, because you can always go back and fix it. But like I said, if you can work from what would be closer to the center of the miniature and work outward, I like to start with the skin layers and then move my way out. That way, the next stage is always something you're going to be painting again. So if you get stuff on like the pants or on the sleeves or whatever, you can always go back and fix it, because you don't have to worry about it, because you'll be hitting that in a minute or two. How is everybody's holiday going? Mine is pretty relaxed at the moment. Not a whole lot going on. Christmas Day itself was pretty quiet. We had done my side of the family on Christmas Eve. So we got all that taken care of, and we're going to be doing my wife's side of the family starting on Saturday. So Christmas Day itself was just us, so that was pretty nice. And then later on, I usually do a get together on Wednesday night now for painting minis and hanging out and having some friends who are writing for D&D games or in general. So it's kind of like our sort of a craft night. And since I do that on Wednesdays, I was like, why not see who's not traveling for Christmas and who's not spending time with family for Christmas out of state, and invite them over. So we did kind of an impromptu potluck Christmas dinner with a couple of friends, which was super nice. Hopefully everything is lit well. You guys can see what's going on. Trying to keep him in the right spot. I'm not playing in the game where this character is actually being run, so I don't know exactly what he's like. But from what I've heard, he's fairly pragmatic and clever. As one would expect from an arcane trickster. This will be interesting. He's coming in pretty dark. Wow, you know what I realized? I had taken my rinsing glass upstairs and washed it out. And I left it upstairs after I said goodnight to my daughter. Whoops. I'm gonna have to grab one of the other ones real quick as soon as I finish this up. Red. Gotta get underneath this sleeve spot right here, up by his elbow. Yeah, I can start seeing the gloves. Don't paint his hand. I don't need to paint his hand, you dummy. I feel like I'm going to get this guy done real fast tonight because there's not a lot of crazy details going on. But it should let me actually pay a little more attention to him. Make sure I get it done properly. Just getting up inside on his ankles. Hey, Neff. Let me know if the audio is okay. I'm always neurotic about it at this point, considering I got screwed up left the first time I tried it. This red's going on pretty well. Alright, and now I gotta be super careful. I'll get his face. I want to try and avoid getting too much on his collar. Not worried about his hair, so I'll be hitting that with black anyway. Don't forget to wash behind your ears. Alright, I need to step away for 1 second and grab that rinsing cup because I'm going to start needing it pretty much right now. Okay, not terrible. Red went on really well, so that'll be nice. Give me 1 sec, I will be right back. Give the red a rinse because I'm done with the base. You're like this? Yeah, not surprised. Making some adjustments. How's the audio going there? Does that change it up at all? Trying to get to a better spot. Okay. Yeah, that red went on really well, actually. I'm going to have to pick up some white. I've been told that his shirt is white. Again, I'm not going to go straight to white. I'd like to use white as the highlight. So I'm going to go, similar to what I did with Jinjo, I'm going to go with the mummy robes a bit. And then I'll hit white on top of that. All right, I'm going to need my fine detail brush when I get in there, but I'm going to try and see how this goes. Again, when you're putting paint on the brush, only go halfway up the bristles, and I like to pull away while I'm trying to draw it out. You might not be able to see this because his wings kind of cover it. I'm trying to get in behind. Not gonna lie, if Infamous PBJ is not in this chat when I'm painting his mini, gonna be a little disappointed. Trying to be careful around the shoulders. But like I keep saying, you don't have to worry too much because you'll be doing the vest after you finish the undershirt. It's just got to be smooth paint, that's all. Try and keep it light. Try and keep the bristles clean when you're getting the paint. Getting underneath when I have to roll the base over like that is going to be hard for me to let you guys see where I'm at as far as the bristles, so I'll try and make sure I show you when I'm done with this section. I'd like to be playing the MechWarrior game. not had the funds for that yet. Alright, sleeves. First layer done. I'm going to get a smaller brush to make sure I get the collar and I don't bump into other stuff. Fine detail brush. Make sure the bristles are straight. Yeah, I said I was going to be a little bit disappointed if I was painting your mini live on stream and you weren't in chat. I mean, you got to be here paying attention. And what if I do something that you don't like? What if I do something you don't like? So again, getting in here on the shirt. I'm going to try not to make too much of a mess, but I'm going to see if I can make sure I get the color proper. Try and hit the collar. We're going to come back to this and bring it up from white, or up from this mummy robes color with a white highlight. I'd still like to play it. I'll get to it eventually. Okay, so I'm going to be careful because I'm hitting a little bit on the vest right now, and I want to just get the collar of the shirt, which is a tricky spot. Regularly, it wouldn't be a big deal because I've got an open access point. But got to get between the wings. So I'm gonna cheat toward the collar of the vest because I'm gonna hit that next, and I can go over that with the black, and it's not gonna be a big deal. Yep, that's going all right. That ain't terrible. I wouldn't say screw it up. Adding a higher level of difficulty, perhaps. But, I mean, I get it. Just hoping it's not going to be a thing where I'm just painting miniatures with wings. I got to get to my dragons at some point. Finish those guys up. Okay, I'm going to go back through and look at the top of his neck. It's going to be hard for you guys to see it, but I'm going to try and make sure that it's at least straight. And with the fine detail brush, I'm going to come in and see if I can get closer. Down here, on the arms. Yeah, that's looking all right. So I got in between, got the collar around the back. That's going to be the first layer, and it didn't go on like toothpaste, so that's nice. All right. So I've also been told he has a dark red belt. So I'm going to get in there, grab that right now. Just with the red. Just making a red line. Since I'm doing a red base anyway at a darker color. And I'll be hitting the black later on. I can straighten this out if I do it crooked. The tricky part's going to be getting back here. Making sure that there is actually Missed a spot on the tail, which you guys aren't going to be able to see. But I can see as I get around there, so I'll fix that a bit. Get on in here. Watch out for the butt. Get the last bit of the belt over here. I'm going to have to make that straighter as I get to the pants, so we'll get that taken care of in a minute. Straighten those out. Okay. So far, so good. I have not put my hand in the paint, which is nice. Now I can move on to do the black. All right. This is just good old-fashioned Army Painter matte black. Oh, yeah. I mean, it could be, but it was partially because I was working in a different setup. So instead of what I was used to doing, where I had more room to move around, I sort of just got all kind of in front of myself. All right. Question, Peach. What color do you want the belt pouches and the sack of loot that he's got in his right hand? Oh, hello. There's some sprue bits sticking out of his wings. Hold on. Be right back. Sorry, correction, not sprue bits, but the 3D printing remnant. Super hard to see. You can kind of see it right here. There's a little nub sticking out. Just going to trim that down. There's one up here. Trim this down. Okay. Check to make sure there's no place else. There's a spot on his pants. Just going to smooth it out. Essentially whittle it down just a little bit. There we go. That's better. I don't see any more of those. Quick touch up. All set. Problem solved. Black for the pouches. All right, edgelord. Black for everything. Got it. Black. I should be playing some typo negative. Little black number 1. Just being careful up along the belt line. Yeah, probably. Don't gotta worry too much up around his pouches, obviously, if they're gonna be black as well. But when you're going up to something that's a straight line like a belt, if you can bring your bristles right to the edge and just drag the brush sideways, it will give you a better straight line. Just a little touch. And you only have to do it for like a millimeter. You just be very gentle with it and it'll actually take care of that for you. Shouldn't be a problem. Black pouch. Black big pouch. The other pouch, I noticed this little one over here, it sticks out a little bit. I feel like it's a cell phone pouch. I know it's not. I know it's not supposed to be, but as I was checking him out, I was like, oh, look, he's got a cell phone pouch. All right. Make sure I get all the corners. What's a little silly is that the miniature is very black to start with. So I'm basically just putting 2 layers of paint on to put him back to the color that he was when he started. I should have just painted the skin. Nah, it wouldn't have looked as good. I mean, the real trick, I think, when it comes to painting and staying on the proper parts of a miniature is just to take it slow. As soon as you start rushing, blocking things with your hand, and when you're looking to get it on a camera, as soon as you start rushing, you start getting into like problems. Like right there, I just slipped up a little bit and I got some black on the inside of his leg. So all I really need to do is take a quick stop before it gets super dry. See if I can get that off the inside of his leg. Wet the brush a little bit, although I was using very, very little paint, so I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. But that's alright, because it means it's already dry. Pop back over to my red real quick. And hit it with the proper cover up. Yep. Just don't panic, because you can always go back and fix it. It's not even going to slow you down, really. You get right in there. All right. On to the vest. Where's my best spot to sit? Probably around here. I feel like I'm getting a little bit out of focus. And again, be real careful along the belt. Just drag it nice and easy across the buttons. Remember that he's got a belt buckle that I'm going to hit with like a brass afterwards. Be careful up along the armpit and the collar. And as I mentioned earlier, Pete reminded me, or at least pointed out, that he's wearing gloves, so I don't have to worry about being down by his hands. Is it ripping it back and forth a whole bunch? Hopefully it's not giving you guys a headache. The autofocus, that is. Nice. Excellent. Glad I picked it up because, as we found out last week, the old one just does not do the autofocus well. The new one seems to have a much better lens for it. Alright, gotta be careful back here. Get the top of the coat. I'll hit that in a second because I'm probably going to go back in there with a fine detail brush. I think ultimately, painting experience means you don't switch brushes as much, because I can do a lot of work with a standard brush, so I don't have to switch back and forth a lot. Okay, I'm gonna have to get in back there in a minute with the little bitty brush because I just don't have the room for it. But let me get his gloves. There we go. That'll do on that side. Gonna give it a quick rinse because I feel like I was getting a little chunky at the end, but water down the paint a little bit, draw it away. Not going to worry about getting paint on the bag too much. Because that's going to be pretty easy to deal with. And if I'm doing black, it's going to get into that crack anyway, and it'll give me a shadow naturally. All right. Did I get the underside properly? I think so. I do want to meet the red a little bit more on his arm. Some of it's drying up just a tad, so let me there we go. That's straighter. I want to get the straight line out his arm there. No, I do not use a wet palette. My palette is a it's a tile. It's like an 8x8 ceramic floor tile. Fairly smooth texture. That's all it is. The paints themselves are just water-based acrylics. I'm using the Army Painter Fantasy line currently. and they're pretty easy to work with. I got it recently and was just touching some stuff up with it, and was like, yeah, this ain't too bad. I mean, realistically, my dream kit is the Vallejo line fantasy paints. They're like, but it's like $200, and I just can't afford that. Maybe if I start doing this more and I actually make some sort of income off of it, I can actually justify writing it off as like a business expense or something. All right, now to get the tricky black inside between his wings, the back of his vest. Trying to be real careful. And again, you guys might not be able to see it super well while I'm working on it, but I will attempt to get you guys a quick view of it. This collar is a bitch, not gonna lie. Where's the best angle for me to get in there? Can be kind of hard to see where the collar stops and the shirt starts. That's not bad. Thanks. Thank you, sir. I've been doing this for a while, Jay. JCR. I don't think I've seen you in chat. Thanks for stopping by. I don't know if you were around last week or not. I am slowly fine-tuning some stuff so that my audio is not so bad. And trying to figure out the best spot for the cameras and the microphones has been kind of fun. For certain definitions of fun. I mean, it's a cool challenge. I've never really done this before, so. There we go. All right, so I had to get in between those suckers, but I got it. And I got his collar taken care of. So his collar seems to be doing all right. I'm going to hit this line at the edge of his vest because I want that. Actually, you know what? I got a better idea. All right, so it looks like, oh, almost forgot his hair. But after I get his hair done, I'm going to start going in, picking up some highlights. God, this guy's got teeny little horns, man. Pete, you made some freaking tiny horns on this dude. I almost forget that they're there. Do you want them a different color? Do you want the horns to stand out? Should they be bone colored or should they just be red? Thanks. That was the goal. I am trying to channel my best Bob Ross. Grew up watching him when I was little on like Sunday morning or where the hell it was. And I wanted to see if I could kind of replicate it on Twitch. Trying to get his hair down behind his head. Happy little minis. And you do occasionally get the happy little accident where you realize that a particular color scheme looks really damn good that you weren't really expecting, which is always fun. All right, you little bastard horns. You guys can hardly see him, I bet. Like, they're so tiny. All right, where are we? What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use the side of the bristles instead of the tip to kind of catch almost like you do a dry brush. It's going to let me find where those horns are. And I screwed up a little bit. Gonna fix that. Get right back to that red. Get right back to it. There we go. Can I get that design to show up a little bit better? Super hard to see. They're teeny weeny. Okay. So I'm going to guess, based on what you told me for your answers so far, that the buttons on his white shirt should be black. Like that. I think there might be one more. Right down at the very bottom. There we go. He's turned a little, so it's twisted, so it works. All right, I need to go and hit the top of his collar. A little bit of white. Some of it got off on the neck. Some of the red. That's better. Did I get the other side too? Yeah, there we go. There we go. All right, so these are all base coats so far. I haven't done any highlighting. I'm just picking out the details, and I'm doing stuff like finding the little ridges and the claws at the end of the wings. Just picking out the little bits. And what we're going to end up doing is once we've sort of got those colors taken care of as base coats, we'll go back, start bringing out some more of those details. Maybe not the little black claws on the tips of his wings, but I gotta bring some highlights on his hair up a little bit. I gotta bring some highlights on his vest up a little bit, because flat black while super stylish, doesn't show up well when you're looking at it on the table. These little ridges on his tail, you want those just to be like skin ridges, or do you want me to make those little black nubs? I'm fine with it either way. I think it'll work in either direction. But it's not your mini J. It's actually infamous PBJ's figure. I mean, they might work. You know what? I noticed a spot on the top of his ear that I hit a little bit with the black. So we're going to fix that. Yeah, there we go. All right, so far so good. I'm gonna do a quick check. Oh, you know what? Peach did say that his eyes, his tiefling eyes, were also jet black. Usually when you're doing eyes, if you're going to do eyes, if you're going to bother, what you can do is you can basically get the color of the eye in the socket and then take the brush and get underneath it to thin it out a bit and make sure that they're both in the right spot. If you're going to do it. But I figured this guy isn't going to have pupils or anything crazy, so I may as well give it a shot. That's a little bit better. Plus I'll be getting in here with a bit of a flesh wash, which will change things up just a little bit and hopefully properly get the shape of the eyes. But that looks good. I'm not sure if you can see him, but he's got some eyeballs. close can I get that camera? There we go. Yeah. Easy, because I don't have to do pupils. All right. So, I picked this up earlier this week. Sarah from Shade. It should be very good on the red. It is a Citadel ink wash. Make sure my fine detail brush is clean. Make sure my standard brush is ready to go. And I'm going to start on the wing because I want to see how this works out. Because I'll go back this should give it a nice shade. I'm off the, I know, I'm off reservation. Here, I'll put this over here instead. Get the wash in the edges. Hit the tail with it, and what it should do is it should start kind of gathering around the edge of the grooves and whatnot. And I'll go back. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring the color up a little bit brighter, but the red is intended to be, the current red is intended to be sort of the undercoat base layer. But I'm going to be fairly generous with this underneath and on the face because I want it to get down into the crack under the face. Try and pick up some detail. Get around back of the head. Get the inside of the other wing. I really do like this particular line of stuff where they have quick shade and ink washes, and I didn't get used to using them until a couple of years ago, and now I hardly do anything without them because they make things so much easier. Now what I'm doing is I'm going to dry the brush off and stick the tip into places that I don't want there to be excess shade. Because you can draw it off with the tip of the brush. So you basically get the brush mostly dry and you kind of use it like a siphon. See this crack in the elbow right here is a little too dark, so I just touch it with the base, just bring it close, and it pulls away some of it and it makes it not nearly so dark anymore. But the wings are looking good. The hooves are starting to look better. Yeah. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to pick up, as soon as that's dry, I'm going to pick up some red. We're going to just go with the Army Painter Pure Red. Sorry, Naffy, I missed that. Yeah, it depends. Like, all I really wanted to do was make sure that they looked black. I'm not going in with a off-white and a color and a black dot. That'd be obscene. Like, these guys are smaller than Warhammer figures, and Warhammer figures are a larger scale, and a lot of times you can see the eyes on those, so We'll sit with the red for a second. I do have my white ready to go. So we're going to touch this up a little bit. I'm going to start hitting the highlights on the shirt. Put my color over here. I don't need a lot of it because I'm doing a very little section. I do need my detail brush. I want to let them sit for just a second. Realistically, I'd like to not touch any of the red for a moment. But I might be able to work inside with the white. So I want to do the cuff of his shirt, but mostly just the top. I want to do this portion of his shirt right here that was kind of upraised. And then I got some of the red on anyhow. We're going to hit this with probably a dark wash and do this a secondary time because I want it to look correct. And it'll help define the edges of the shirt. So I'm going to kind of go over trying to pick out his shoulders a bit more. Oh man, white you got to be careful with. I say this every time, but it can go on smooth or it can go on like toothpaste, and half the time you are not sure which one it is until it's too late. So water it down, do multiple fine layers. Keep the paint very wet if at all possible. I think I wash the brush more when I'm doing white than any other freaking color. Alright. Put my finger on top of his head so I don't hit any of the red stuff. Get the edge of the collar. Get the front of the shirt a little bit. The edge of the collar some more. Back of the wings are going to be a pain in my ass. All right, hold on one moment. Make sure the brush tip is as fine as I can get it. And then that trick with the ink with the wash, you can do it with regular paint too, but what you want to do is you want to keep the brush bristles fairly wet and then tuck it into the corner, and that allows you to pull off anything that was in the edges, in the cracks. All right. Another key question for the color scheme. His hooves. I'm guessing they're going to be black and not bone colored. Okay. Standard brush again. Make sure my black is still wet enough to paint with. It's getting a little bit of a film on the top, so mix it around a little bit. Draw the bristles out. Don't worry too much about getting it on the base. You just don't want to get it up on the skin that you finished already. All right, Nathan. I'm going to take a second to say hello to anybody who has joined the stream momentarily or recently and hasn't said hello in chat. Feel free to pipe in, ask any questions. I will do my darndest to make sure I get to them. Tend to focus sometimes, depending on what portion of the miniature I'm focusing on at the time, I tend to get a little bit like hyper focused, but I take a moment to sit up a little straighter for a second and check chat. So be patient with me. I am a streaming noob. All right. We'll start getting the highlights on those in a second. I've got horns, I've got eyes. Hair is black, toes are black, pants are black, jacket's black, pouch is black. Happy sack, still brown. We'll get to that in a moment. The ink on the wings is still a little wet on the inside, but we're getting there. I think if I start with some red highlights on the face and arms, I might be able to work my way around. The back of the wings seems to have done pretty well. Yeah, we'll get there. It's orange right now, really. Like that's actually orange. Sort of hard to see on the camera, but I'm gonna make that. I'll darken it up. We'll see what happens if I hit it with a couple of layers of flesh wash or dark wash, and we'll see if it looks good or not. I'll get the brass buttons and the brass buckle on his belt in a moment, but I think so. The blacks are all dry. Let's move up to highlights on black. Come over here, please. Again, I just need a little bit of this because this is a highlight stage. Oh, I'm doing it with uniform gray. I'm still using my standard brush. I'm not using my fine detail brush. I'm probably going to mix in a little bit of the black here. I'd like to darken it up just a touch. Again, draw it out. I still want a good point on the brush. And I'm thinking the collar needs to have the highlight. Trying to be real gentle because I don't want to get onto the white. Then we'll do a little bit over here by this side. Perhaps he's got a little bit of a bicep, a little bit of an ab thing going on. Draw it down. I'm going to hit the tops of the gloves that are going to reflect a little bit. Top of his little pouches. Most of the front side of that one. Get the corner over here on this one. I'm going to hit a line of highlight just on the top of his leg. Mostly where my, I'm cheating it a little bit. What I'm doing is I'm using the reflection from the lamp I've got. And I'm kind of tracing the lamp reflections a little bit. It tends to work out fairly well. Get the top of the cuff right there. Top of the knee right here. Top of the cuff. Edge of the pant leg. Edge of the pouch. All right, back to this glove. This glove, the thumb side is up. So let's hit this. A bit of the palm. Very lightly drag it across the fingertips. You don't want to actually like bend the bristles too much, because what you want to do is just drag it over the top. So that it just hits the upraised portions of his knuckles. I'm going to get a little bit under here. I'm going to hit his hooves like this. Need some on the hip on this side. Okay, that's not bad. I like it. All right, let's get some lines on his head. Get up in his hair. Because I need to define some stuff there, because he's got nothing going on up there right now. I'm not doing like large chunks. I'm just kind of tapping edges of things to try and bring out some texture. And maybe I'll hit the tips of his horns. All right, Peach. I like doing contrasts, and you're making it so I can't do a lot of contrast. So, oh, and I missed one spot. Because there has to be some highlight on that collar right about there, on the top of his jacket right there. Large brush done for the moment. I'd like to get into doing some of the reds now that it seems to, except for the very insides of his wings, which are mostly in shadow anyway, so I don't necessarily need to hit those parts, but that's where the ink is yet to really dry. So let's put him down for a second. All right, a little bit of pure red. Pure red for highlights. Fine detail brush because I'm probably going to start around the face. Make sure I draw it out to a point. Tops of his cheeks. Point of his chin. A little bit of a jawline. You guys in the right spot? Yeah. And then ears. Absolutely need it. Then I'll hit the tops of his wings and the outer edges. I'm just going to kind of try and blend it down. Get these upraised sections. I'm just ragging on you, man. It's fine. It's your mini. Be silly for me to not enjoy doing it just because it's not what I usually like to do on mine. I still enjoy doing it because it means I get to kind of work in a different kind of color palette. Like this guy is red, black, and white. Full stop. So how do I make that work? Well, I make it work with subtle highlights proper shading and the right application of color. Gotta make sure I get the tops of this portion of his wings. Gonna need a little bit more over here. I want to make sure you can see upraised cheekbones and tips of ears. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. That's the way I want it to work. Remember not to let it get too dry on the end of your brush. Thanks. Everything seems to have properly dried over here, so. Gotta start getting his elbow. Get the inside of his arm where he's kind of got it facing you. But I'm not going to get the crook of his elbow because I'd like that to be kind of a darker spot. You can draw the red line along and make sort of contours where there aren't necessarily some on the mini. It works out really well. It looks really good. Give it a wash. Hit this one because it's farther back, so I'm going to start back here with some sort of bright. Bring it down to the edge, to the hoof. Try and imagine where the light's going to be bouncing off. And then I'm going to get the tail. Like to get the edges of his belt just a little bit to make it stand out some more. couple of little dots inside here, I think, will be good. Yeah. Underneath. On the side. Make sure that's clean. It's coming along. It's just about done. Face has got highlights. Wings have got highlights. They're nice and subtle. The jacket's got some highlights. You can see ridges and lines. Yeah, I like it. I like it. All right, brass button time. No, I need that fine detail brush still. Where are my metallics? All right. Coming around. This is weapon bronze. I need a very little amount. That's too much right there. I'm going to put the tiniest amount I can on this brush. Right at the very end. Spin it around. And we're going to hit these buttons. And we're going to hit this buckle. I'm going to hit this button, this little clasp on his pouch. And we've got another one over here. That is actually just a buckle. Okay. That's good. Okay. There we go. We got brass buttons. We got brass buckle. We got a buckle in there. Got a clasp over there. I need a tiny bit of black. There we go. All right. Let me see what I can do about this bag real quick. Easy enough to make them leather brown. Pop that over there. Stag my standard brush. There we go. Wait for that to dry. It should just take a second. But in the meantime, what I think I want to do is put a couple extreme highlights in. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Let's see. Get a little bit more of the uniform gray. And a tiny little dab of the black over here. Because I need my fine detail brush to hit up behind the shoulder. Because that was just too small of a corner to work in with the regular standard brush. Now that the happy sack is dry, do some of the dark tone because it's going to give me a nice little quick set of highlights on this bag. I think I'm going to take a little bit of it. On a watered down brush. Dab it on the sleeve corners just a touch. Back up around this collar. And then I'm going to give it a bit of a wash down on the vest. A little bit over the gloves. just about finished. And I want to hit the base, which I can do in a couple minutes. There we go. Yeah, I think he's coming along. I think he's looking pretty good. All right, so he's got this cobblestone base. What I like to do on cobblestone bases I'm gonna take this goblin green, nice pale green. And make it super watery. I'm going to let it get into most of the cracks. And let that dry for a second. And then I'm going to go back and we're going to hit it with a little bit of the ash gray, but it's going to be a light sort of overbrush. But I got to wait for that to dry. So in the meantime, Peach, hope you're liking it. Seeing a couple of spots where I can add a little bit more highlight. Just mostly on top of his head and the tips of his horns. There we go. That ain't half bad. I like doing this on miniatures. I've been doing it a lot lately. Helps them stand out a little bit on the table. I think it looks pretty good. All right, let's get that ash gray going. Again, I'm still using the standard brush. Again, I'm just going to use this ash gray here. And what I'm essentially going to do is kind of a light, almost dry brushing. Just going to go over the tops of the cobbles that are sticking up. I know it's kind of hard for you guys to see it right now, but I'll get you in just a second. So there's green in the cracks. And it basically just gets the gray on the top and a little bit of green in the cracks, and it makes it look more natural. And I can go around the edges real quick and just get the corners that are sticking out. What's if? Yep, we're just about done. What? You hungry? No? You saying it's time for me to go to bed? That's not true. You know I stay up late. I'm just going to gently hit the upraise, the outer corner of the flagstones, right around the edge of the base. Like that. That's going to finish it off. Make it look nice. And that red needs a second coat along the edge. Just finishing up around the edge. And there we go. One complete Euronymous Jones, Tiefling Arcane Trickster, Dungeons and Dragons 5th Ed. Use him in good health. You picked up Bard? Oh, lovely. So there we go. He's got the money. There we go. Blam. Thanks for coming by. I felt like that went very well. I appreciate everybody stopping in to say hello. I appreciate the feedback on the mini peach. And I will deliver this to you tomorrow. Or you can pick it up if you swing by. Number 3, not too bad. I think it's pretty good. I like it. Thank you very much for coming through. Actually went almost the full 2 hours. I hadn't expected it to. So yeah. Again, Euronymous Jones, Tiefling, Arcane Trickster, apparently also Bard at this point. Should be fun. And he is wee. He is so tiny. Yeah, there we go. There we go. I'll have to get another picture of him. Boop. Awesome. Have a fantastic evening. Get rest. Be well. Happy holidays. And Happy New Year. I'll be doing another one. I just got to figure out what to paint. So, see you guys later.